Hey, it's Miss Frankie. I'm going to be talking about common denominators today. And when we find common denominators, we are trying to find a common multiple of the two denominators, or three in some cases, of our fractions. Now remember, our denominators are the bottom parts of a fraction. So when I find the common denominators, I'm going to find my multiples that they share. So when I go through this, I'm going to find the least common multiple, or the LCM. Now, if you watched the simplest form, you know we talked about the GCF, which is the greatest common factor. Now we're going to be talking about the least common multiple. It's a lot of acronyms going on here. So when we find the least common multiple, again, we list out all of our factors of those numbers. Okay, I didn't go very far on either of these two just because I found my least common multiple pretty quickly. If I look in through my multiples, I find that they both share 10. Now if I kept going, I'll know that they will both share 20 also. It'll be over here. Well, I want to find the least number that they share. Well, the least number they share is 10. So I'm going to create two new fractions using that common denominator. So something that they might want to do is to write the little fraction next to the side. Let me do a different color here. Okay, so I'm going to write 4/5 next to this one and 1/2 next to this one, just so I can remind myself what to do. When you're doing the common denominator, you ask yourself what times the old denominator gets you the new denominator. Well, 5 times what is 10? Well, if I look at my list of multiples here, that's 1 times 5. Well, that's 2 times 5. So 5 times 2. Remembering all of our thoughts about fractions early on in the lesson, or early on in this chapter, we know that whatever you do to the bottom, you must do to the top, and vice versa. Whatever you do to the top, must do to the bottom. So, since I multiplied by 2 in my denominator, I have to multiply by 2 in my numerator. So 4 times 2 is 8. So 4/5 is equivalent to 8/10. This has a common denominator for me. Same idea with 1/2. What times 2 is 10? Well, I can look at my multiples here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 times 2 is 10. So since I multiplied by 5 on the bottom, I'm going to do the same at the top. So my two new fractions are 8/10 and 5/10. Now, having these common denominators are going to come in very handy when we start comparing fractions and when we start ordering them from least to greatest, or greatest to least. It also comes in handy when we learn to start adding and subtracting fractions in the next couple of chapters. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.